3.
Okay. The flywheel also had shear bolts, so that if something did go drastically wrong, like, well, who knows? There was many times that it could do different things if things weren't working properly, and so it would shear these bolts in hopes of not wrecking the needles or other items on the baler, and then you'd have to get back in time with how things were lined up to go again. Because I think you can put this 180 degrees out of time if you don't follow the right with a flywheel.
And you even made comment maybe that you might shear the bolts if the hay was a little too wet.
Right,
even.
yes, yeah. Either it was a mistake of the baler, or if conditions weren't right and you had your bale chamber too tight, then it would shear them because it couldn't push the plunger back. So, yep.
And then when we get into the tying end of it, how many revolutions did you say
Well,
that
if I remember by rights, this would make 4 revolutions while it was doing the tying. And so you'd have what I used to call, well, clunk or whatever. You could count
4 times.
4 times while this was processing going. And I don't know whether it was 4 for sure. We tried to manually run this today to see if I could recall that the way it's supposed to be, but it didn't want to recatch, so I'm not quite sure anymore. So the wire was on the other side behind the feed-in chamber, and these could be pushed back in for storage if you want, so it wouldn't take up so much room in your machine shed or whatever, so you could get it compact. And your wire spools were on here, and then you fed it back through the needles, and of course then they would go in and tie your bale. And that's about all I remember about this machine.
So your knotters were on the side versus the modern day one where they come from underneath, they're turned to quarter turn, basically.
Yep. Yeah, all the twine tie balers, they had the knotters up on top, and this one was on the side.
And then the knot that it made was kind of unique to itself.
Right, it was about, I'd say about, well, it's the same, a little bit longer than what that knotter in there, and that's a good 4-inch, I think. To me, it looked like about a 4-inch knotter deal, and it had a loop on the end. And then it always had 2 that stuck out, and that's why that cutter was in there that would cut that about a 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch chunk off that would fall into that collection pan there, so that you wouldn't be leaving them pieces out in the field. So, or in the bale itself, because cattle would get hardware disease if they swallowed it. So,
correct.
So that was the reason for catching it.